Okay, so this presentation has been written with students that have got either a Tier 4 or a student route to visa in mind. If you've got a different kind of visa to those two, then I would suggest you get in touch with us because the advice might be a little bit different for you. So this is mainly aimed at those with a Tier 4 or a student visa. And yeah, if you do need to get in touch with us, that's our email address there. The information is correct as of now, but it is liable to change. So it's always worth getting up-to-date advice closer to the time that you might be considering applying for a different visa, or nearer to the end of your studies. So I'm going to look at the startup visa and the innovator visa. I'm also going to briefly touch on the graduate route visa, which is a new visa coming in the summer. And then I've also got a couple of slides just as a reminder about working on a Tier 4 or a student visa and what you can and can't do with that regard. Okay, so the startup visa then, it's aimed at those students that want to set up a business in the UK, so early stage entrepreneurs who haven't previously set up a business in the UK, and you need to be endorsed by a startup endorsing body in order to be able to apply for this visa. Now, Aston University is a startup endorsing body, so you would need us to endorse you. And as the endorsing body, we have to assess your business idea. So that's BSeen would do the assessment, and we have to confirm that it meets the requirements for the startup scheme, which I will come back to in a minute. There's criteria that the business idea has to meet. If you're successful in getting this visa, then it's granted for 24 months, so 2 years. It's just a one-off grant of 2 years. It can't be extended. If you wanted to continue working on your business after that, then you'd have to look at a different visa, which I'll come on to. You don't actually have to be a graduate anymore, so you don't have to have completed your course. But as the endorsing body, we have to confirm that you are able to spend the majority of your time working on your business, and therefore Aston has taken the decision that we won't actually endorse students until you have completed your studies. So you'd be applying once you've finished your course. You don't have to show any funds to invest in your business, so you don't have to have a lump sum of money. But another requirement is you haven't previously been granted 2 years leave, so 2-year visa in either the startup route or the previous Tier 1 graduate entrepreneur visa route. So if you've had either of those visas in the past, unfortunately we can't endorse you. And the idea is that you have the startup visa for 2 years, and if you want to carry on working on your business, then you look at switching into the innovator visa after that. So the criteria that your business idea has to meet, it's 3 facets to it. So one is that your idea has to be innovative. So it has to be a genuine, original business plan that meets a new or an existing market need or creates a competitive advantage. So that's what we would be looking for in the way of innovation. It also has to be viable. In other words, you've got to have or be actively developing the skills that you need, the knowledge, the experience, the market awareness to actually make a success of the business. So it's got to be viable, and it also has to be scalable. So there we're looking for structured planning or the possible potential to create jobs and create growth to sort of scale up your business into national or even international markets. So your business idea has to be innovative, viable and scalable in order for us to be able to endorse you. You can work on more than one business, and you can change your business once you've been granted the visa, but all of your businesses, or if you changed business, it still has to meet that innovative, viable, scalable criteria. You don't have to be the sole founder of the business. You could apply in with a business partner or in an entrepreneurial team. That is possible. You can apply either inside or outside the UK. And the financial requirement, so I said you don't have to have a lump sum to invest in your business, which is true, but you do need to show that you've got, or potentially need to show that you've got enough money to live in the UK. Now, this has changed fairly recently. And so the financial requirement now is that if you've actually been living in the UK for 12 months or longer with a visa, and you're applying in the UK for the startup visa, you wouldn't actually have to show any financial evidence as part of your visa application because you've been here over 12 months. So all of the startup costs involved in moving somewhere new, you've kind of already paid all of those. That's the thinking behind it. However, if you were in the position where you had to apply outside the UK for this visa, or perhaps you're in the UK applying, but you've been living here for less than 12 months for whatever reason, then you would need to show financial evidence, and you would have to show that you'd maintained £1,270 for a 28-day period before you apply for the visa. Okay, so it depends where you're applying and how long you've been, if you're in the UK, how long you've been living here. As to whether you would have to show financial evidence or not. You are able to bring family members to the UK with this visa, and you are also allowed to have a part-time job. Well, actually, I say part-time, it doesn't actually have to be part-time. You are allowed to have a job alongside setting up your business, and there is no restriction on the number of hours that you can work. However, you still have to be spending the majority of your time on developing your business. So if you then got a job for 40 hours a week, could you justify that you were spending the majority of your time on your business? So you need to be a bit careful about that, but the conditions of your visa do allow you to have a job as well as setting up your business, because your business may not actually make money to begin with. So you know, you may need something to fund your living in the UK. Sorry, someone's just asked a question about so the money. Let me just go back a slide. So if you did need to show the £1,270 for 28 days, someone's asking if that has to be in a UK account or could it be in an account overseas. Either would be acceptable, as long as you can get a bank statement or a bank letter confirming that you've got that money and that it's been there for the full 28 days. So yeah, as long as you could get the right evidence, and we can check the evidence for you to make sure it would meet the requirements as well. Okay, so just as a kind of bullet point sort of list of the process for applying for this visa. So first of all, you need to apply to be seen, to the Be Seen programme, and you have to be accepted. We won't endorse anybody for the startup visa if they've not been accepted to Be Seen. So apply to Be Seen, and I think Howard will be going into a bit more detail about how you do that. So you get accepted, and then usually Be Seen will let me know that they've accepted you, and then we can get in touch to give you the advice about the visa. So yeah, apply to be seen, get accepted, check with myself or one of my advice colleagues, do you need to show financial evidence as part of your visa application? And if you do, then get the £1,270 into an account in your name if it's not already there, so that you can hold it for the 28 days before you need to apply. You will then need to complete an agreement that we have that basically explains the university's, Aston University's responsibilities to you, as we are the endorsing body, but also your responsibilities to Aston in terms of being endorsed. So we just ask you to sign an agreement that you understand what's expected of you. And then once you've done that, we can give you the endorsement letter that you will need for the visa application, and that comes from the advice team. We can then check your application and your documents and help you to submit the application online. So everything's checked beforehand to hopefully mean that there's no risk of being refused. So yeah, you would apply for the visa. It's done online. If you do need to show financial evidence, you must make sure you've already held that for 28 days before applying, so you're not going to get refused. But we would work with you and decide when's the best time to apply. Hopefully you're granted the startup visa. Now we say to allow around 10 weeks before the boot camp, BSEEN boot camp start date, which is when the program, the BSEEN program starts. In the UK, roughly, I would say it's probably quicker than this, but we're saying worst case scenario, allow around 10 weeks for the visa to be granted. And then you could, once you got the visa, you could attend the BSEEN boot camp. Now, this will depend on the date that you applied for your student visa. Some of you may actually be able to start the boot camp before you've actually got your startup visa. You may be able to join the boot camp just having applied for the startup visa, but some of you may need the visa to actually have been granted, the startup visa to have actually been granted. It depends on the date that you applied for your student visa. It's a slightly complicated rule, but we could look at that with you nearer the time. If you were going to apply for the startup visa, we would have a look and see whether you would be able to start the boot camp with or without the visa being granted. Oh, that's a question about applying to BSEEN. I'll let Howard answer that maybe after my presentation. We won't endorse students from other universities for this startup visa. Oh, Carolyn's replied to that one. Thanks, Carolyn. We won't, Aston won't endorse non-Aston students or non-Aston graduates. We only have a limited number every year, so we reserve them just for Aston students. Okay, so if you get the startup visa, then you are sponsored and endorsed by Aston University, and we have 25 endorsements at the moment to offer. I believe a couple are reserved actually, so it may even be more like 23, and we've got those until the 5th of April next year, at which point we would hope to be given another batch of endorsements. It's usually around 20 to 25, so we're not talking big numbers. But usually I don't think we've ever had a year where we've used them all, so there is usually capacity for everybody that is accepted by BSEEN to get an endorsement from us. Now, BSEEN, together with the international advice team, we have to monitor your progress on the startup visa as well as your engagement. We have to make sure you're spending the majority of your time developing your business, and we have to make sure that you are making sufficient progress, satisfactory progress. And if we find that either progress isn't satisfactory or that you're not actually spending most of your time working on your business, we might have to consider withdrawing sponsorship. And if we did that, we have to report to the Home Office, who will cut short your visa. There's 4 contact points with the university over 2 years to monitor engagement. And when we do the agreement, before you apply for the visa, we'll explain what those dates are, and you usually get a copy of that. And we usually just email you to confirm, are you still in the UK, still working on your business, still got a startup visa, etc. BeSeen also will monitor your progress in more, of a business specific way. And they're providing support as well, which they'll go into shortly. And yeah, I've mentioned signing the agreement before getting your endorsement letter. Oh, there we go. So I'll just talk briefly about the innovator visa. You may have heard of this. This is the visa that you would generally, if you want to carry on working on your business after the 2 years on the startup visa, you would look to apply for the innovator visa. It's possible you could go straight for the innovator visa and bypass the startup route if you met the criteria, but the criteria is a bit more strict and a bit more stringent for innovator. So most students tend to go for the startup visa first. The innovators aimed at more experienced business people who are seeking to establish a business in the UK. And as with the startup visa, you have to be endorsed by an innovator endorsing body. Now, Aston University isn't an innovator endorsing body, so we can't endorse you under this visa category. And we don't really provide advice on this visa either. We can kind of signpost you to advice or to innovator endorsing bodies, but we're not one here. So if you've got an innovator visa, this is usually valid for 3 years at a time, and there are 3 innovator scheme categories. So there's the new business category, for which usually you need £50,000 of funds to be able to invest in the business. There's the same business category, which this is the one that you would apply for if you've held the startup visa and you're looking to continue working on your business. Then you'd apply for the same business innovator category. And there's also then settlement, which is after 3 years or more in the innovator category, you can apply for settlement in the UK that way. Now, the rules are that if you were going to switch from startup into innovator in the same business category, you wouldn't be required to show funds for investment as part of your application. So that's yeah, that's one of the rules in place. Yeah, so the innovator visa, the business ideas are kind of, there's more stringent criteria for innovator. It's more detailed. So that's possibly where the startup visa is helpful to begin with. And that's probably why students, graduates tend to go for the startup visa first. But one of the useful things with the innovator is that there's no limit on the number of times that you can extend an innovator visa in the same business category. You get it for 3 years, but you can potentially keep extending every 3 years, unlimited. If for whatever reason, I mean, there is the settlement category, so you would probably look to settle at some point, but you can keep extending every 3 years in that route if you wanted to. Okay, so as I said, we don't really give advice on the innovator visa, so I'm only really touching on that briefly. There is a third possibility for setting up a business in the UK, and that's the graduate route visa, which is going to be introduced this summer, 1st of July. And it looks as though, so we don't have the immigration rules on this until the 1st of July, so things are not 100% confirmed yet, but it's looking as if you would be able to set up a business on this visa. It looks as though self-employment will be allowed. Now this visa is for somebody with a Tier 4 or a student visa who wants to work or look for work after successful completion of an eligible course of study at bachelor's degree level or above. So you've got to have got your final results and know that you've passed everything, and then you can apply for this visa. Now, there's also the criteria that you must have studied in the UK for a minimum period of your course. I think they've written this in because of COVID and because of distance learning that's gone on. But if your course is 12 months or less, you must have studied the full duration of your course in the UK. If your course is longer than 12 months, then you must have studied for at least 12 months of the course in the UK. However, they have also said that where courses are longer than 12 months, you would still be eligible for the graduate route visa, even if you had to study via distance learning. So from the 24th of January last year until the 27th of September this year, if you had to study distance learning, virtually because of COVID, as long as you had a Tier 4 or student visa, you would still be eligible to apply for the graduate route. So they've kind of written that in. You have to be applying in the UK with a valid Tier 4 or student visa. So you've got to be in the UK, your visa still has to be valid as long as it's Tier 4 or student, and you have to have got your final results to be able to apply, and your course must be at degree level or above. So a degree, a master's, a PhD. I don't think they will accept postgraduate certificates or diplomas. If you get this visa, it's valid for 2 years or 3 years if you've completed a PhD. And as I said, I believe that self-employment will be allowed with this visa. And there is no sponsorship or monitoring requirement in terms of the visa if you got the graduate route visa. However, BC do still have requirements, and you would still need to meet those in order to benefit from the programme. But in terms of the visa, there wouldn't be any sort of monitoring requirement. You wouldn't, like for example, we wouldn't need to check up on you over the course of the 2 years. You're not, there's no monitoring. You're not sponsored. You wouldn't be sponsored by Aston or endorsed by us. Okay, Hasith has asked me a question about applying for the graduate route. Hasith, at the end of my slides, I'm going to put my email address up. If you could send me an email, it's probably better, because I think your question is verging on advice. So it's probably better if I respond to you directly, I think. So yeah, great. Okay, I'll keep going, and my email address is at the end. Okay, so just a couple of slides on what you can and can't do on a Tier 4 visa. So most of you should be able to work up to 20 hours a week if you're doing a degree or master's or PhD. It's rare that you your visa would prohibit you from working. So you should all be able to work 20 hours a week in term time. And you are also allowed to do a full-time work placement as long as it's an assessed part of your course. It's not more than 50% of the length of your course, and as long as we've approved it and it's been reported to the Home Office. So you can do a full-time work placement. You can also work full-time in vacation periods, so the official vacation periods for your particular course as defined by Aston University. So those of you on a postgraduate taught course, just remember you don't have a summer vacation period. That's when you should be working on dissertation, project work, things like that. So that's term time for you. You shouldn't work more than 20 hours a week over the summer. You can also work full-time in the 4 months after your course end date. You should still have a visa for 4 months after your course end date. That's how student visas are issued as standard, with an extra 4 months. You can work full-time in those 4 months because that's not considered term time, as long as your course end date has passed. Now, you do need to be a bit careful that on a tier 4 or a student visa, you are not allowed to do these different types of work. So you're not allowed to fill a permanent full-time vacancy. You're not allowed to be self-employed or engage in business activity. So be very careful. If you want to set up your own business, don't start doing that too early while you've still got a student visa, because you're not allowed to do quite a lot of things to do with setting up a business. If you're not sure what you can and can't do specifically, if you've got a specific question about activity you can and can't do, then send me an email and I'll look into it. You also can't be employed as a professional sports person or coach, or as an entertainer. I know those are quite random. It's because there's specific visas for those jobs. So yeah, just a quick reminder of your tier 4 work conditions. So this is my last slide, I think. So we've got, those are the international student advisors. So I'm Laura and I've got colleagues as well. Usually we're based in the hub, which is on the ground floor in the main building, but we're obviously, most people are working from home at the moment, so we are doing virtual or telephone appointments. That's our phone number there. That's our email address. So if you do have specific questions relating to your own personal situation, if you send those to Aston International at aston.ac.uk, you can mark it for my attention if you want, so it comes to me. Then I can respond to you directly rather than sort of getting into advice within this session. That's my last slide. I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat at questions that might have come up. Let me just double check. It is my last slide, I think.
Yeah, it is, but we'll just hold it there. If anyone has any questions, please ask Laura now. She is, you are sticking around for the last bit, aren't you, Laura? Just if
I can do, yeah. Yeah, I can do.
That'd be really helpful.
So I've got, there's one from Janani who's asking how the graduate visa can be carried forward with the innovator visa if required. I'm not quite sure I understand entirely what you're asking, but the graduate visa is valid for 2 years. So you've got that for 2 years. You could then look to switch into the innovator visa, but again, you'd have to meet the requirements and, you know, get an innovator endorsing body. But potentially, yeah, you could use the graduate visa to switch. Okay, sorry, Janani, did you want to say something?
Yeah, hi Laura, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm good too. So I just wanted to ask, like, you said like we could still go ahead and open a business as part of a graduate route. So assuming that
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, assuming that it is still applicable and we are able to open a business as part of a PSW, then in a part of 2 years time, like you eventually, like when your PSW ends, you have to get into an innovator visa without a choice. So just wanted to check if you have any details regarding that.
I don't, unfortunately. I mean, really, until the 1st of July, we won't have sort of definite confirmation about the graduate route. So I believe that self-employment is allowed, but that's changed actually, because they were looking at saying no self-employment and then changed their mind. So until the 1st of July, we won't 100% know. But then, yeah, so you would have the graduate visa for the 2 years, and then yes, you would need to switch into the innovator route if you wanted to stay in the UK and carry on working on your business, in which case you would need to look at the innovator requirements, which in a couple of years' time may have changed anyway. But yeah, I don't know what those are off the top of my head, other than you would need an innovator endorsing body to endorse you. In terms of funds for the business, I don't know what those would be. We'd probably have to wait till the 1st of July to see. But yeah, it's probably we have to wait and
All right,
see.
got it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, so someone's just asking if the PowerPoint can be sent. I think it's going to be saved somewhere, isn't it, Howard? Or would you be sending it after?
We can look at doing so. We will be putting the video up onto YouTube, so you can follow it again there. But was there particular information you're looking to find from the PowerPoint at all? Okay. All right then. We'll look at getting it then.
Okay. Okay, so sorry, just going back up. So Pankaj is asking, does the self-employment on a graduate route visa mean we can still start a business without requiring a startup visa? So as I've just said, I believe that self-employment will be allowed. Really, we probably need to wait till the 1st of July to know for definite. But if when the immigration rules are published on the 1st of July, it says self-employment is allowed, then yes, potentially on the graduate route visa, you could start a business and you wouldn't need to get the startup visa. So yeah, potentially, but we'd have to wait to the 1st of July. Okay, so somebody's asking, what about the internship, 40 hours a week? I think that must have been in relation to the student visa. So you can do an internship that's full-time as long as it's an assessed part of your course. So it's integrated within your course and it's not more than 50% of the length of your course. So you can do it on a student visa, but it has to meet those criteria. Okay. Sorry, my chat for some reason is a bit slow. Someone says, is freelance allowed under the student visa? No. In a word, usually when you're freelance, that means you're self-employed, and self-employment is not allowed on a student visa. So definitely avoid anything freelance on a student visa. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so someone's saying if the Tier 4 student visa has expired and a student isn't in the UK anymore, in that case, can they apply for a startup visa? Yes, you can apply from overseas. We have had students do that who have had to, partly because of the dates that BScene starts. So it has 3 intakes over the year, and that doesn't always work out with visa expiry dates and things like that. So we do sometimes have students applying from overseas, and that's okay. Yeah, it's doable. It just means that you would definitely have to show the financial evidence with the £1,270, but as long as you've prepared that, it's not a problem usually. Obviously with COVID, it would depend on the situation, but in theory, yes, you can apply from overseas. I'm just looking. So Puneet said, if self-employed is employed, somebody offered me pay as well for a job. I'm not quite sure I follow the question there.
So sorry,
Oh,
so sorry to cut you.
that's okay.
I wrote it wrongly. So basically, it was a commission paid job somebody offered me, and then they said they'll put me under PAYE. So I googled PAYE. So it was like, I think something pay as you go. They pay your taxes and everything. So I didn't know if I can do that job or not. So I'll work 20 hours, but it's a commission paid job, and the companies asked, like companies saying they can do PAYE for me, but I didn't know, so I didn't take the job because I was a little confused if I can do it or not under student visa.
Sure, I think it's sensible to be cautious. I would say send me an email. If you've got anything in writing about the job, I can have a look at it. It would kind of depend on what your status was going to be. I think, and see, I'm not an employment specialist. I think PAYE does mean you are employed by the company as opposed to being self-employed and
Exactly.
freelance.
He said that like you are employed by the company, he's going to pay the taxes and everything, but it's still going to be commission based. So like I have to hit a certain number of quota. I'm in sales, so like I have to hit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
think as long as you're employed by the company, that should be okay. Obviously, then I guess you've got to still stick to the 20 hours a week. So it might be that you have fewer opportunities to earn the commission. But yeah, as long as you're employed by the company rather than being self-employed or freelance, that would be okay, I think. But if you're not sure, you could send me the details and I'll have a look at it for you. Okay, so question about when to apply and cohorts. So Nikolai's asking, what do I need to meet as requirements to start working in the UK? I'm an international student from Bulgaria and I don't have any visas at the moment. Okay, Nikolai, I think probably if you send me an email, I will respond to you separately from this because it will depend whether you've applied for the EU settlement scheme or not, and if you have, what status you've got under that. And so I probably need to know a bit more detail from you. So if you can send me an email to Aston International at aston.ac.uk, I can then look into your particular situation in a bit more detail. That's probably the best thing. Okay, Kelly is asking, how do we renew our visa after the post 2 years? Do you still need sponsorship then? So is this the startup visa that we're talking about, renewing after 2 years, or is this the graduate route? If you can just confirm to me, then I can answer that question. Okay. So Kuram's asking, can PSW, so it's no longer called PSW, that's the old visa that was in place up till 2012. It's the graduate route visa now. Yes, you can only ever get that once in a lifetime, he's put. Yeah, it's a one-off opportunity to apply for it. It can't be extended, you can't have it more than once. So yeah, just the one shot. Okay, so Puneet's question I've answered. Nikolai says, great. Okay, so Kelly was talking about the graduate route. So let me just nip back up to his question. And now I've lost it again. How do we renew our graduate route visa after the 2 years? You can't, unfortunately. The graduate route visa is a one-off 2-year visa. You can't extend it beyond 2 years. The idea is you use it to work in the UK in whatever capacity that is, and if you want to stay after those 2 years, you then have to switch into a different visa category. So if you're working and you've got a job and you want to stay working in the UK, it would be the skilled worker visa, as long as you meet the requirements there. If you've used the graduate route to set up a business, for example, then and you want to stay to do that, it would be the innovator visa. Yeah, so basically you can't extend the graduate route, but you'd switch into another visa category to stay in the UK and continue whatever professional activity you were doing, if that makes sense. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions, unless anybody's got any more. I'm sorry, Howard, I just realised what the time is.
No worries at all. I think it's really good to go through these, and there's always more information around BSeen online, so we can go on and cover that. Right, guys, so what I'm going to do is just go and introduce a bit more about BSeen, how some of the areas that Laura's discussed are really effects on the startup visa, and we'll go from there. It might run over from 3 o'clock now, but we're going to go through, and if you have any questions, please ask. This is just us another one. What kind of organisation or are able to award the work visa?
Okay, well, I think we're getting away from the sort of topic of this session there, but basically it would be a company or an organisation with a skilled worker sponsor license, and there's a whole list of those.
Agreed, Laura. There is, you need to, it depends on what visa you're going to be looking for and if they're licensed, and there's a list that you need to go find Vince. The international office can help you, but we're going to discuss startup visas before we go too far away.
Yeah.
So I'm very time conscious. And
drop me an email and we'll look at that skilled worker visa in more detail then, okay?
Okay, brilliant. So jumping on now to talk around BSeen. So what we're here for is that vehicle for the startup visa, and we really want you guys to get the most out of it. And there, Laura's done a really good introduction into everything that is actually around the visa. Now we're just going to discuss those things around BSeen. So BSeen has been part of the university since 2010. We support hundreds of businesses and graduates and students through the program and launching businesses in the Birmingham area. It's really about encouraging entrepreneurship. It's through the European Regional Development Fund. So we go from there. And at Aston, we have the team of 3. You've got Carolyn, Jess, and myself. And we're really here to see you succeed. And the program is all about getting young entrepreneurs about starting your business in the Birmingham area and giving you the skill sets and that real support package for 12 months that you can go on and be a success kicking forward. So how we do it, of course, over the last year, it's been very different. It's been virtual, but we are looking at shifting to back to face-to-face bootcamp delivery come September, and we're really excited about that. It's about being part of a supportive community. It's a lot of peer-to-peer learning. There are 4 institutions which make up BSeen. So it's a real cohort and community which starts BSeen and then stays throughout the 12 months and really go. And we're seeing so much great support for one another, especially through these times on our WhatsApp chat and other when people are launching. And we also host different meetups. We've got one next week. As I said, networking opportunities. We do offer a bit of a grant money, £500 to help you get going. We offer mentoring support from industry experts for 20 years experience and can really help you grow from there. And then also you get the guidance from myself, the enterprise consultant, and also we do have some professional services, pro bono work, which can help you go. And then also moving forward, we do have the co-working space, which will be reopening, where you can work alongside your peers and go to develop your business. So how do you apply? We've got the cohorts. We've just finished our April one. We do have the applications open for the June, due to the fact of how your visas might be or where you're at the moment. Like I say, you must have graduated at the time of applying, so we can put you in. So if you are September to September cohort, you are not eligible for the June cohort, but you can apply for the September cohort with the applications opening late May, running throughout June. And of course, they will be happening next year as well, with the Easter, June, and September cohorts again. So if you don't decide to go for the September one, keep your eyes peeled on the BSeen channels, and you can see where to go. This is our website. What I'm just going to do quickly is throw our link to our website in the chat, so you can see and go and have a look. That's our homepage, and it's got the apply button there. So you can, it's that simple. But with the startup visa, you are also requested to complete a business plan. So you must complete a application through the standard form, and this is really important that you actually complete the application fully and don't skip over parts. Some people think, oh, I'll go to interview and that's where I'll do everything, where actually we need to see at the first round, at the first step, that you are being serious about taking this serious and that you put all the information in there. So please go from there. When can January starters apply? So that will be going through the January. So the first cohort that you'll be eligible for will be the Easter 2022 cohort. So that will be when you need to look at applying, Christian. So we normally also have, due to visa restrictions, the international applicant deadline. This is quite clearly stated on the website, so just keep an eye out for that. Like I was saying, you need to submit a business plan as well as your application. This is due to the areas and criteria of the visa, which are around innovative, scalable, and viable, and just be able to show. This is about being a practical business plan as well to launch, and not academic. People might be doing it as their MBA. We will say we can tell the difference of when you've just done it for a academic purpose and not for an actual practical business plan. And you need to go from there. We do have a template on the website, and there are different ones we can use. The startup loan is normally the template we advise you to look at because it's a really good one of how you build a business plan. If your application is successful and we believe your business plan is strong enough, you'll then be invited to interview and deliver a presentation virtually. This is normally a 6-minute video. So this is 6 minutes followed by Q&A from a panel of the BScene team along with one of our mentors. So how do we review your application? And like I say, you're under some more pressures around it being innovative, scalable, and viable. We do ask all our other businesses to have this in mind, but this is just that extra step because of the startup visa that you need to demonstrate how you reach each of these criteria. So I'll just go into them in a bit more detail. Viable. This is talking about why you are the team to execute this idea. Can you apply with, sorry, I'll just come to that in a moment. Why are you the person? So that's really discussing and saying what skill set you're bringing to the business and how that'll make it successful. Why you have knowledge and experience of this area. Why are you the individual? What have you know about it, and can go from there. Being really clear on competitors. This is also linked into the innovative element. That is not just a rehash of something which is going on, being aware of your competitors, direct or indirect, and seeing how you can go from there. That you're actually discussing and explaining what the problem is, and also how your solution is going to affect and add value to your customers. Understanding the risks. Often we have people say there's no issues, there's no barriers, I will do this and it will be a great success. That is not showing us that you really have thought about the challenges you might come and face and how you overcome them especially. And also it's not being realistic, because that really does affect your financial plan and assumptions. Now this might seem like, oh, he's just going over some of the basics, but it's really important because we do see people skip over this and make massive assumptions, not just about their financial plans, but about a business, and think, oh, of course it'll work. Well, we need to see some of that evidence for it to be viable. Around innovative, it doesn't have to be a brand new idea. There's a lot of people in the world, there's a lot of people in the UK, so there are ideas, and not everything's been thought of, but a lot of them have been. So it's more about analyzing what you're seeing and going, right, how is this different? How is this adding value or solving a problem in this area? Looking at something from a different perspective and going from there. A new or better approach to an existing product or service. And you can find angles, but you need to be able to clearly articulate what that is and explain to the panel through, as well as in your business plan, of how you'll do this. Once again, it can be something that disrupts an industry, the market leader, and go and be different about it. Always a great one to, like, just as thinking of how it was disruptive, was Airbnb. Hotels, B&Bs, all has existed for a longer time. They just looked at doing it of renting rooms for private properties, which is a bit of a different approach. So just be aware there are different ways to look at things, and that's what you need to be able to explain. Applying this to an established business model in new context, finding new useful solutions for customers. The main thing is it doesn't have to be brand new, but it cannot be a carbon copy. We see a lot of people come to us when they maybe essentially a food business. They're going to say, I'm going to set up a takeaway industry or a restaurant, and I'll do it like this. It's exactly what we've seen. There's nothing innovative about it, and that's where we've really struggled to support those type of applications. So then we go on to scalable. So this is that every business wants to go from point A to B and be successful. However, it's then saying, where do you want to grow and how do you want to grow? And the idea is about expanding and what's it adding to customers, ideally within the whole, nationally within the UK. So you can start regional, but then how you go national, and then potentially going international as well. Because on the innovative visa, that is something that you're needed to be. Also, when you're looking at scalable, you need to think about how you'll get revenue, generate profits, reinvest that, or potentially gain investment. It is around growing and understanding how that growth is planned out, and there are elements and sections of your business plan that will require you to discuss this. Also going around those financial assumptions and plans that you actually have built in timelines of around how you look at growing, what milestones you look at achieving, and how you'll deal with that. And then finally, the areas that are scalable that you need to focus on is around how you cope with the increased growth, that you don't just go from 10 users to 10,000 and you think it'll be the same and there'll be no impact on the business, but also how you impact on it and how your skills help the business, but also it's not you just going around delivering workshops. For example, if Laura and I to go around to every university to discuss this startup visa and a process similar, that isn't very scalable because it's taking us time to go around, book those meetings, go to those meetings, speak at each one, and it's not looking at growth. If there's a video content that we could then send out, customize, it's seeing how it can potentially be scalable, and the business isn't too reliant on you or your efforts. It's got to be looking beyond that and how you'll look at growing. So they're the three real areas that you need to really put at the forefront of your business plan and how your business will look at developing. Tips for applying: check the deadline dates for cohort. Like we say, that is normally clearly stated on the on our website around the deadline date, as well as if you are needing to apply for the international application deadline. You need to have the visa by the time of the boot camp. Like saying, there are different times, but you will need to have the visa when the boot camp starts. So please don't think of rocking out going, oh, I've just applied, I've got it. No, we need that visa. There's a process. Also, there is the eligibility around the startup visa application, and the startup visa also Be Seen has its own criteria. Please look at the criteria on the website. So many people just ask us, oh, am I eligible? This is the question. We will just send you to the website because more often than not, the answer is there. So please make sure you hit that criteria. Come and ask us questions. We're here. We like to. There's a Q&A session on a button on the website. So please go and look at that. If you want any questions, feel free to reach out. We'll see what we can do. Our social media, we try and run things as much as possible. If we get to know you, we can help you. The sooner the better, and make sure that it's an application worth going forward. Sorry, 1 second. Consider your path post startup visa with the innovator. I know that got discussed a bit with Laura. Yeah, this is something that we really see. Someone submitted a business plan the other week that was 40 pages long, and it was more of an academic theoretical piece rather than practical, and it doesn't help anyone if you're putting it that long and it's not got anything really about the practical nuances that you need to deliver to start a business. So please be aware of that. And that is where the research comes in. Please look at doing your secondary and primary. Don't just ask or make assumptions with friends and family. You actually need to go out and speak to people and validate your idea, because that's what we'll be asking in your interview, and we can quite quickly see if someone has not done that. So there's some tips for applying. Okay, so the questions we've had come in. Can you apply without recourse to startup visa? Christian, what do you mean? Just like Blair, if a student started a degree in September 2019 and finished in 2020, can they apply for June? Laura, can you just come and help in regards to that of the deadline and the visa date? I believe that Blair's asking about.
Yeah, so if they started in September 2019, they're going to finish in September 2020, or will have finished in September 2020. So they could apply at any point from now. So
yeah, so
but what was the deadline for June? They've gone, haven't they?
For international students, but if they missed that they're okay on the visa application, and when they receive their visa, they can still apply for the June application.
I think, Blair, it might be worth you dropping me an email and just include your course dates, your visa expiry date. If you can include like a scan of the visa and when you applied for it, then I can look into whether you need to have the visa in place to start BCing, or whether you could start it just having applied for the startup visa. That's probably the best thing to do. Just drop me an email and I'll look at it for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Kelly, is there a fixed sum capital for a business, or the loan amount is allocated down to the nature of the business? There's no capital needed to be starting the business, delivered from yourself. So, and then if you look at going for a loan, then that is your own discretion and making sure that you hit what the lender is asking. I'm not sure what else you're wanting to find out with that. Let me know if there is anything else I can help. The outcome of the application is after you've interviewed, we normally take a couple of days to go and get back to you. It is a process. It depends on how many applicants we have, but we normally get back to you pretty soon and give you feedback if you are successful or unsuccessful. Vince, VC, I imagine you mean venture capital funds. There are people that have been progressing through BC. To get to a venture capital level, a business needs to be very well established, and you're talking around about a 6-year build into a vice to get to a venture capital stage. Realistically, unless you are very fortunate and have a massive amount of investment to start with. There are different runways. There are angel networks we can potentially connect you with, but it's more of a slow build. VCs don't wander into the territory of startups that often if they have not done angel rounds before that, or gone and found their own grant loan money before as well. Mandeep, you have raised your hand. Would you like to ask a question?
Hi, this is Mandeep here. I'm this January cohort MBA student. While I've come across this Aston Enterprise scholarship awarded to the BC category, I was told that if your business idea get accepted, so we might look into the scholarship, or you may get a full scholarship towards the tuition fees. So because we are in the duration of course now, is this still applicable to us?
Carolyn, do you want to just go in on that?
Sorry, Mandy, I didn't quite catch it. Could you just ask the question again?
We have Aston Enterprise Scholarship Award, so to specific students, which is like a full tuition fee waiver.
Yes.
So if we get into the BC now, fortunately, if our idea gets accepted by the BC team, so will this scholarship be enabled automatically to the people, to the person who have got this opportunity?
I think we can maybe take this offline, Manadeep, and have a discussion, if that's okay with you. I just need to clarify a couple of things.
Sure, definitely.
Okay, drop me an email and I'll pick it up with you.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Christian, what is your question?
Okay, the question I want to ask is, can someone join or apply to the BSIN now? Not necessarily whether you really need the visa, just you want to just join the program, maybe now.
So
Not for visa.
So what? Just get the business advice? No, because of the requirements of
Extension, so just you want to join.
So yeah, I understand of just join BSIN. We don't really operate in that way. If you are on BSIN, you are starting a business, and if you're on a tier 4 visa, you are ineligible to start a business. However, we would say you are eligible to go through a load of our other programs. So we have involved with Aston Enterprise. We have our Apollo program, our pitching competition. We have different workshops. We also have the BSIN mentor monthly meetup. So they're eligible and you're able to go along to them. But just join BSIN and not the visa wouldn't work, because if you are on any form of visa, you are not eligible to start a business. And by starting BSIN, you must register as self-employed or a business. So there are other things you get involved with, but you can't join BSIN without having started a visa if you're going from a tier 4.
Okay.
Blair, what's the start and end date of the application for September?
Okay, understood.
Blair, so the end date
I joined January intake.
No, sorry, Christian, I'm just answering Blair's question. The start and end date for the application of September cohort, we're just looking at getting out. We're looking at starting the applications with the end of May. So we're going to be closing down the June ones on the 9th of May. And then we're going to be looking at opening up them for the September cohort come probably around the 15th, 16th, 17th of May period. So mid-May, and then they'll run until probably end of June period. So keep an eye on that. The best place to do and follow the updates is our social media, especially Instagram. We have all the information getting put out on there, or if not, we are on LinkedIn as well, which has information going out regularly. Right, okay. Does BSIN help with licensing or permits with regards to certain business like food chain? If you're talking about franchising, and we will necessarily advise and potentially signpost you to what regulatory bodies and what licenses you need, and potentially food hygiene that you need to follow. Licensing and permits we can recommend and read over, but that's not our areas of expertise. We potentially look at partnering you with a mentor who could help you fully. No, not a franchise, a startup. Okay, like a food chain. So you're looking at starting the food chain. Once again, we can advise on what you need, what areas. Food businesses are very hard to establish. I'm just being honest. To get them right, as well as being innovative and also scalable, is quite a challenge. So you need to think about how your idea would hit that criteria. So licensing and permits is one thing. We can tell you that you need your level 2 in foods hygiene. You need to look at allergens. You need to most recently look at Natasha's law of if that will impact. There's a load of things we can signpost you to, but you just need to be aware of actually how fundamentally your application would be affected on the scalable and innovative elements of your business plan. Okay, so I realise it's 3:10. Does anyone else have any other questions? If not, I'll wrap this up and thank Laura again. We can look at, if you want to drop me an email, I can look at discussing it with you a bit more in depth. I'll just throw my email. We'll throw the BSIN email in the chat and we'll look at picking it up and having a discussion with you at some point. Are there any other questions? Okay, brilliant. If not, I'll say thank you very much. Laura, thank you once again. Really useful of understanding Startup Visa. We'll look at putting this video up on YouTube, and you can go and get the information from there. But have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.